We've used the distributive property a lot in Algebra 1, and the distributive property deals with taking some number and multiplying it into some quantity, making sure that you multiply each thing in there by whatever number's on the outside. Now, what we haven't really talked about yet is what happens when the parentheses that you're distributing in has more than one term. So this is something typically referred to as foiling. I'm not going to really get into it too much because you're going to multiply the first outside, inside, last. We'll get to that in a little bit. I don't like to totally refer to it as foiling or teaching it that way, just because when you get to a problem like 3, FOIL doesn't really apply. But what we're going to do here is think of this like the distributive property. The only difference is now instead of just distributing like this 2 in or just this x in, we're going to distribute both of these things in. So I'm going to start with just the x, and I'm going to bring the x into both terms in the parentheses here. So x times x, that would give us x squared, and then x times 5 will give us 5x. Okay, that takes care of the x. We've just multiplied the x by both things in here. Now we're going to look at the 2. The 2 times the x will give us a 2x. The 2 times the 5 will give us a 10. And that'll take care of all the multiplying we have to do. So our final step here is just to combine like terms. The x squared does not have any like terms. That's going to come down. Same thing with the 10. That'll come down. But this middle part here, the 5x and the 2x, can actually combine. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So 5x and 2x will give us 7x. Note that this again is not 7x squared. We're just combining like terms. We only change the exponents when we multiply some x power to another x power. Okay, we'll check out number 2 here next. Again, I've got 2 terms in this front parentheses and 2 terms in the next one, so I'm going to distribute first this x into each of these. And if I do that, that'll give me x times x. Again, this is multiplication, so we'll add the exponents. That's x squared. Then x times negative 4 will give me a minus 4x. Starting now with the 3, if I distribute this in, I'm going to get a minus 3x. And then finally, if I take a negative 3 times a negative 4, this should give me a positive 12. Once more, if there's like terms, we should combine them. Remember that x squared and the 12, they're not going to have any like terms here, but the middle 2 terms should combine. So let's make sure that these 2 here will combine. And if I take negative 4x minus 3x, that should give me a bigger negative number, so negative 7x. And that will take care of this one. Again, not negative 7x squared. We didn't multiply these things. We just combined the like terms. All right, now it can get a little more complicated when you have more terms. The steps are still the same though. We have to take the x in here times everything in the other parentheses. Okay, so everything in here needs to get multiplied by x first. Once we do that, we'll multiply by the 2. So again, if we take the x times the x squared, we'll get x to the 3rd. Let me actually fix my color scheme here. Stick with red. So this will give me an x to the 3rd. So x to the 1 times x squared will give me x to the 3rd. X times 3x will give me 3x squared. And then x times negative 5 would be minus 5x. So that takes care of multiplying by the x. Now we're going to take the 2 in. And if we take that 2 in, we'll get minus 2x squared minus 6x plus 10. Okay, now we're going to have to combine like terms. It's a good idea to write these, again, if you notice, I'm writing these in descending powers of x. That'd probably be the best way to write this. You'll see why when you get to factoring. But for now, just kind of trust me on this. So the highest power of x is x cubed, so I'll write that one first. Nothing to combine that with. If we look at this x squared will be the next highest term, and we have a 3x squared minus a 2x squared. That's going to give me a positive 1x squared. I'll take care of these guys. Next we've got a negative 5x and a 6x. That'll give me a minus 11x. And the last term I have here is the 10 without the x, so we'll just put a plus 10. and then this here would be our final answer for this one. Okay, so no different, you just have to multiply each term in there by each term in the other one. Finally, we could have some sort of area problem like this where we're finding the area of a triangle. And the first thing to do whenever you get these types of questions is to write down the formula for the area of the triangle. So it's 1/2 the base times the height. Okay? So now if we're going to calculate this, what we'll need is 1/2 times the base times the height, and we'll have to plug in what these things are. So the base here would be 6x plus 4. I'll fill that in. And the height would be x minus 7. And we can multiply these in any order we want. What we can't do is we can't double distribute. So if I bring the 1/2 into this first parentheses here, I can't also bring it into the minus 7. So I'm only allowed to distribute into one parentheses at a time. If you prefer, you can FOIL first and then bring the 1/2 in. But I'll take the 1/2 in here first because this kind of goes in nice and evenly. But you can do this in any order you want. Just don't bring the 1/2 into both parentheses, only one at a time. So 1/2 of 6 is going to give me 3x, and 1/2 of 4 is going to give me 2. And then I'll bring that x minus 7 down. And now we'll multiply. So now we're able to FOIL this out. We've got 3x times x will give us a 3x squared. Remember, we add the exponents. 3x times negative 7 is minus 21x. It takes care of the first grouping. And for the second grouping here, we'll get a plus 2x and a minus 14. So finally, if we combine our like terms here in the middle, we'll bring the 3x squared down. The middle should combine to give us a minus 19x. And on the outside, we'll get a minus 14. And we are done here. So that would give us the area of that triangle in terms of x. So again, the key here is you want to multiply each term in the one parentheses by each term in the other parentheses. After that, check for any like terms and combine.